people? So, I'm waiting to see if I get a response for Gav. Planned and talking a wee bit about the vision, the eye, whatever else. I'm still going to talk a wee bit about that regardless. I want to talk again about perspective and some of these things that people look at and get wrapped up in and have, you know, a misunderstanding of, as far as I can tell. So I just want to offer up some things that you can look at and try and understand for yourself what's going on in regards to your visual perception. I want to talk a wee bit about my intent, my behaviour since I arrived on YouTube, and how maybe I've affected different people and, you know, different people's circumstances and whatever else. The reason I want to do that is because there's a channel called Flatty McFlatface who put a wee video up, and it was really nice to see, you know, the genuineness of Chris and, you know, how misunderstandings can happen, and regardless of, you know, who's right or wrong in a situation, you can always analyse your own behaviour, and see how, you know, you may have affected or contributed or worsened a situation or a set of circumstances or whatever. So, you know, I'll just say I appreciate that Flatty McFlatface put that wee video up, because it gave me the opportunity, because I say I don't really watch myself back. I'm not really that interested in fucking listening to my fucking voice and whatever else. It gives me the creeps. So it's nice just to see things put into a bit of context, and I'll address that once I get to it. But first and foremost, you know, a wee continuation of the short video yesterday. Obviously we've got the trolls dancing the merry dance in the comment sections, which is good to see. So I'll just lay out some things for you so that you get some clarity on it. But anyway, how are we, people? How are you all doing? What does the sky prove about the earth? Is this, we've got somebody already rattling on about the fucking sky. Brilliant. Fucking wonderful.
Utter stupidity.
Just as I say it, I hear that.
I'd love to see you know, stating that you expect to see the floor touching the horizontal central line.
Shush you. Where have I wee saying to you? Yeah, that's better. Now I can see what's going on in the chat box. Good times for all. How you doing? I've been removing trolls from my comment sections for years. Eventually they get the hint. Now that's it. Good times for all. I'll just let them waste their time. Tighten up, copy paste. Just delete it. It's so easy just to click delete than it is for them to achieve whatever they think they're achieving. So I say, I'll entertain them for so long to see if they can, you know, watch them trip themselves up. And then when they obviously just ignore, you know, succinct points and facts that you offer them, you know that they're just there playing a game. So then you just take the piss out of them and let them waste their time. So, anyway, how you doing? TP in a 3, Tony Dixon, Levi Foster, Paul E, John Walter, Cors, John Presley, John Walter, Bend Over, JD, John Presley, the Seattle Green, how you doing? Siddy, how you doing, mate? I know I've not got back to you, man, it's just the way it's been recently. Anders Ace, Keith Anthony, how you doing? Jimmy Eldred. People can get their own idea about a person, Jim, that's right, but I'll get to that, because who you think I am as a person and my characteristics is really irrelevant, and I'll get to that. I've explained it so many times, but I'll explain it again. Where was I? Sam the Man, Party Pack, how you doing, mate? Dylan Bob, Guns of Navarro and Tony T, Fisherholic, One Man, he's Detector, Steve HV, there I see, seen somebody mention your name. Guy Brush, Streetwood, Flyer Female, how you doing? Sammy Shaw, how's it going? Right, John Presley is the moon flap. What are you asking us questions about the moon for? What is the relevance of your question? You've got one chance to type up the relevance of your idiotic questions, and I'm just going to remove you. So make sure you articulate it clearly. So, anyhow, I'll come back and check and see if the dipshit is there. So, I was talking yesterday, obviously, about this thing, perspective. Now, the majority of people are going to go to like perspective drawings and stuff like that. And there's some things that you need to understand, because usually in a perspective drawing you're going to see, first and foremost, I mean, your horizon. Now, if your optical device or you are looking perfectly levelled and perfectly straight out, within your field of view, your horizon will intersect the centre. So if you drew it across, I know I'm not right in the centre, right? But you just got to imagine I've got it accurate. But that's directly in the centre. Okay? If I'm looking downwards into my field of view, my horizon is going to rise. Okay? If I'm looking upwards, my horizon line is going to be lowered. When we look at these perspective type things, we'll always show you it in a singular line. But what you have to remember is that there's two different relationships going on in your field of view. Right? First and foremost, you have the floor. So if we draw a horizon line that represents the floor, then we have the sky. So we need to draw another line. Okay. Now this point in here is the vanishing point. So anywhere within this band, the things become too small or too far away to resolve, or the angle is too little, it's not going to resolve, you're not going to be able to see it clearly. Okay, so hopefully you grasp this. It's not just about a singular line. Now, in the terms of perspective drawing, we would have to factor that in. So this is the point that I want to make to you. This here represents the floor. This here represents the sky. We'll just draw some fluffy clouds and some birdies and whatever else so that you know what I'm talking about. We're here in the sky, here we're on the ground. So if I then want to identify a point, a vanishing point for my drawing or whatever I'm viewing, then I can put a grid like this in, right? Because anything that's on the ground, that's what it's relative to. So then I can put a building in. Now my building can be, I can start it here, right? We could make it that tall if we want, right? Then I could have my lines going down like this. Okay? So if you could see through there, there would also be another part to that there, right? So you're well aware that anything that's on the ground is within the lower portion of the viewing field. Okay? Now if I was to take myself further away, this would have to compress within these bands here. I would now have to fit it in here. Right? So the centre of my field of vision, which is between these two planes here, these 2 points of reference, that's the centre of my eye, looking levelled out. I can't see what's going on in there because the angle becomes so little, right? It's hard to resolve it. You with me so far? So anything that's on the ground, as you move further away, will fall beneath the central point, the horizontal intersection through the centre of your eye, right? Because we're talking about two bands here. So anything that's on the floor will always fall beneath that central point, regardless of how high it is. You know, I'm looking up at it when it's right in front of me. As it goes further away, it has to compress into this region here, which is always going to fall below that point. So we can draw a circle around it, because that is the true vanishing point. It's an area. Okay? It's not just a line. And the same applies to the sky. So when you get morons talking about mountains and whatever else, you know what they're talking about. You've got an understanding then what they're talking about. So I'll show you a wee clip, a wee video. You can test these things for yourself. You'll say it's useful to you, and it should help you to understand how some of the sophistry's being worked, you know. Did John Priestley, did he offer anything? No. See you later. All that fucking wasted fucking skin. All that wasted skin, finger skin, you could have used to learn to play an instrument. You're fucking bashed away on a piece of plastic. It's not going to achieve anything. So, let me see here. So as you can see here on this, just pull it back a wee touch.
Star with 100 points, and indent those points by 99%. Click the horizon line and drag the shape. You'll get the star shape thing with 100.
This is what I'm saying. Now this line represents the central point through the axis, the central horizontal axis through your vision. Okay. Now the reason the circle is drawn is because there's two hemispheres to it here. The sky remains the sky, the ground remains the ground. The two never touch. So there always will be a space between them. But this is what I'm talking about with the vanishing point. Okay? So just as I drew another horizontal line that would, you know, touch on the outer edge of that circle, that band in there is where your vanishing point is. Okay? So anything that's on the ground, regardless of how high it is, if you can see far enough, the further away you get from it, it's going to fall below the central axis that runs through your field of vision. Always. Okay?
Notice how their eyes are moving. Are they going up or down relative to your eye level? Remember when we looked at this street and noticed how now they're far from the camera, so my eyes aren't too far from the eye level and get bigger. Walk toward eyes, and the camera is but I need the help of my teaching assistant Maggie the dog. I've set the camera up at my eye level, so the camera is roughly seeing what I would be seeing if I was standing here. I'm gonna walk away from the camera. So here's my eye line when I'm far away. It's roughly at the level of the horizon too, but we can't see the horizon here because there's all this stuff in the way. As I walk towards the camera, my eyes stay on that level. Things that are below that level, like my feet, move.
Right, you can see how he's starting to compress and the distance is getting shorter. As he comes towards, it starts to increase. These are just simplistic things that people really need to grasp and understand.
From that line as I get closer to the camera, so I get bigger. And Maggie is shorter, so her eyes are below that level of the camera. So they're below the horizon or the eye level line, and they move further away from it as we get closer.
Let's just skip to this wee bit.
Effect now. Now the camera's back.
Now, this is what I was talking about. Anything that's on the ground is always going to end up, as it goes further away, falling beneath the horizontal central axis through your vision. Observe the goalposts here. Observe the goalposts here. Now, the globe believer will try and make you believe that somehow there's a fucking, you know, a 4 feet drop over the length of that football park, that it's curved downwards. I mean, these people really are some of the dumbest motherfuckers I've ever come across in my entire life. These things are so blatantly obvious. If you are on the ground, you are always above the ground. Okay, if you're levelled looking straight out, anything like the tree here, you can see these trees starting to come down. Look at the difference in the height, apparent height of these. Eventually, because they are attached to the ground and you are above the ground, they will compress and fall beneath the central horizontal axis of your field of view. Okay? Very, very simple. Let me see here. Is there anything else I wanted to see on this? So in a situation like this, as I say, you would need a double band here so that anything that's attached to the ground would be represented as that portion on the lower spectrum. Anything that's off the ground as a part of the sky portion. They will all converge to the vanishing point, which is no just a thin line, it's an area, a space. We are not equidistant from the top of the fucking sky, whatever it may be, and the ground. So when we are so close to the ground, the limited angle here is going to be greater than what's above. Therefore, things will dissipate from the bottom. If you are equidistant, things would dissipate into that region evenly. As I said, these clowns can try and influence with their fucking sophistry all they like, but people like me are not going to let them away it. You can't improve these, aye. See what else we've got in here that we don't want in here. Anybody's welcome to come and articulate, but when we just get blatant trolling, well, they're just going to be removed in a fucking heartbeat. So it's up to you. As I say, you'll see this shite continually. As I pointed out last night, and for anybody that missed it, the problem is the globe believer. The globe believer has real serious issues when it comes to perspective, because they'll tell you that at 3 point whatever miles, that's your horizon, which means that's the point where, you know, the Earth starts to obscure stuff from you. As I pointed out before, an Earth with a circumference of 24,000 miles, right? Nothing would be obscured for hundreds of miles. But the fact of the matter is that as we look an orthographic view, a side-on view, you know, we know in reality the Earth or the ground is straight out like that. But as we look through our eyes, the ground comes up like this. So let's draw that band that I was talking about earlier. Right? The ground's going to come up to here. This is the central point of my vision in this band here. The ground will never cross over that. It will always be beneath it because I am above the ground. Okay? So, when you ask a globe believer, why is this happening? Why is that happening? They're just going to avoid it. Because on a globe, the ground is always sloping downwards like that. It is a geometric physical impossibility for that curve to somehow rise up in front of you like this and then go like that. I mean, look at the absurdity of this. This is what they're trying to make you believe. This is what they just omit and avoid continually. Right? You're on a fucking globe Earth. Right? So we know in reality the globe Earth must curve downwards like this. So we're seeing the floor coming up to a point here. And then you turn round and it's the same. So do these people really think that their globular Earth is shaped like that? So it would be a globe Earth like this.
I mean, what the fuck is the matter with them? Aye, so the point I was making, sorry, forgot about that. You know, I showed this last time. You know, oh, your horizon's at 3 miles away, so we're on a fucking slope. You're standing here on the fucking earth, right? And somehow this is managing to fucking come up here like this, right? But when they show you in their diagrams, they're always showing it like this. They'll always draw a fucking arc like this, and they'll put somebody here, and somebody here, like this, and they'll show them looking down like this, right? Looking downwards. You don't look down to your horizon, you look straight out, levelled, right? The problem is with them, as I've said before, they want you to believe that something's being obscured in here or whatever it is. They're going to say, right, there's your fucking horizon there, right, and things are starting to be obscured from this point. Now as I elevate up, what's happening to the angle here? The angle's increasing. As I elevated, it's going to remain fixed, and I should be now looking down further and further and further, tilting downwards to look down this slope. In reality, that's not what happens. In reality, doesn't matter how high up you go, that band I was talking about is always in your centre of your field of view, and your centre of your vision is here, right between the two of them, the sky and the earth. Doesn't matter how high you're going. That's reality. Interesting. Watch this. Vroom. See that? What's happening here? Oh no! My mouse is fucking disappearing over the curvature of the earth. What's happening? Oh dear. Oh dearie dearie dear. As I say, if you notice here, you can take this as the ground. The ground is always beneath the central point, and the sky is always above the central point, or anything within the sky. Okay? If you're ever looking at a picture, let's see, let's look for right, so just to show you what I was talking about in regards to your horizon. So if we take this for example, this field of view, this camera, you can see if you do a crosshair through the screen, you can identify that the camera is looking upwards into the sky. Another signifier for, you know, for knowing that is that the horizon here is in the lower portion of the screen. Let's find one where it's higher up. Let's see, we'll look at this one. If I was to draw a crosshair here, I would find that the central point would be there, so I can see that the camera, the lens of the camera, is pointed round about here. And I can see that because the horizon is not intersecting the centre of the picture frame, it's in the upper portion. So you know that you're looking downwards then. Okay? You can just get in there. Let's see what else we can find here, just to hammer the point home. There we go. So again here, looking upwards. Horizon, lower portion. Oh, look at the mountain! The mountain's getting smaller! Oh no, it must be going down over the curvature of the earth. So they will say, because they're fucking morons. You should get the point from that. So you have to be able to distinguish. Oh, what's going on here? Aye. So. Right, I'm hearing for Gav, so don't know what's going on there. Let me just crack on. We'll talk about some of the social aspects of this whole thing, shall we? So I say, obviously I've not given an introduction, and I've not really been given them. I will get back to giving the introductions for anybody new that comes across any of these things. But for this evening, I want to talk more about the social aspects of things. And maybe, you know, get an understanding and being able to relate to myself, me relating to you, your set of circumstances, where different people are at, you know, how they're dealing with things emotionally, psychologically, because, you know, I'm a real cunt for that. You know, I know who I am in my mind and I know my position, and I kind of sometimes can be ignorant to other people's circumstances and situations. And as I say, I take that on the chin. None of us is perfect, and I've never been a social type of guy, so thank you very much. As I say, I can understand the workings of my mind and my subjectivity, and I can, through that, I can relate to other people, but sometimes I'm blinded by it. And again, you know, what you have to take into consideration is you know, when I came on board with this whole thing, I mean, there's so much infiltration going on. Right away, when you get involved with it, you know, the guard is up. And I'm just going to, you know, keep distance from anybody that I feel's trying to get close. You know, and people that get involved in YouTube or these types of things will realise that circles start to form round about you, characters start to appear. And I felt like, you know, I didn't want to be distracted by that. And there's so many game players, you know, people that are going to profess to be your friend just to get close to you so that they can create some propaganda or whatever it may be. You've seen this happen so many times before. So first and foremost, you know, my guard's up. I'm suspicious of every fucker. And I'm just hammering home with my vision, you know, what I see going on and where, you know, I think things are important and relative. And I'm strong in that and I'm speaking out about it. But through that process, you know, I may be affecting people. You know, as I say, with Flat McFlatface, Chris putting his video up, I had the opportunity to just see that. That my abruptness and the approach that I took maybe wasn't the best. Because in my mind, when I see, you know, some of the things like, you know, Chris, and you know, I'm sure he'll talk openly about this, there's loads of flip-flopping, you know, expectations of people. You know, people start getting involved in a social type setting, and I never wanted to be involved in any of that because I know the problems that it brings. You know, there's loads of gaslighting goes on, people become, you know, too familiar, familiarity breeds contempt, you know, loads of crazy behaviours start happening, and people lose focus on what they're involved in this for and what's really important. So for me, that was always my incentive. I always wanted to be strong on that line and continually point that out. So I would have been abrupt with people like Chris Flatface and anybody else who was bringing any of that stuff because I didn't want it in my circles, right? But again, that doesn't mean to say that I'm no compassionate and understanding to their situation, which I always will be. You know, so I just want to make that clear that my intent through this was to you know, come in strong with a fuck you, no nonsense approach, display that in the hope that other people would cotton onto it, and also the ability to articulate and break apart the globular pish, not just the globe and heliocentrism, all aspects of social interaction, psychology, blah 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 blah. As I say, I'm not an expert in the subjective fields, and nobody really is. We can reflect on experience that we can see happening in other people, and we can communicate that with each other so that we can, you know, maybe have a further understanding or come to certain conclusions or resolves or whatever it may be. Hang on, I need to switch this off because these wee fucking knob jot. Look, I'm an Alzheimer. He's posting a picture of me on my whiteboard. I'm an Alzheimer. Whatever, son. Talk about projections. This is globe proponents yet again. They've got nothing to offer. They can't come in and just have a reasonable discussion. And, you know, it's like, if you look at the comment section in the previous, they just can't, they don't have the ability to concede. Anything that weakens their, you know, their already weak belief, they'll just omit it and just charge on as usual, you know? Totally unreasonable. Seriously fucking defective psychology these people are operating with. So I'll just shut Google down the news so the wee dick sniffer doesn't get any more attention. So, as I say, I just wanted to be a wee bit kind of candid on who I am, you know, and say I'm no fool to myself. I know exactly sometimes when I overstep the mark and, you know, or if I've been arrogant or I've been ignorant, and I'll try and, you know, resolve that way. I'll always try and come to you and say, look, you know, I accept maybe that seems that I was arrogant, or I've done this, I've done that. And as long as you're somebody that gives the ability to accept that and say, well, okay, I see you're taking responsibility, you can have resolve and you can move on. But if you're somebody who just totally ignores your attempts at resolve and taking responsibility and they're just adamant they're going to, that's an unreasonable person. I can't deal with somebody like that because it just gets me angry and annoyed, you know. And as I say, you know, it's never been my intent to directly hurt anybody's feelings or any of that stuff. You know, which brings me on to the other aspect of why I always try to, you know, talk in regards to separating. Look, I spoke about this with shills, deceivers, you know, misinformers, blah blah. Look at their content, right? That'll tell you through time if they're bullshitters. If they're giving you misinformation, if they're making outlandish fucking claims and acting like messiahs and this, that and the other, I've got a tendency to just go, see you fucking later, you've not got anything to offer me, right? So, if you're coming at me through the question of the shape of the earth, your focus has to remain on that aspect of that content. If you're coming at me looking to make friends, you have to separate that. If you wanted to be a friend of mine or get close to me or find out more about me or whatever, you really have to spend time with me in order to achieve that. But what happens is people look for friendships and acquaintances and relations online with people that you're not meeting directly, that you don't have any real physical interaction with, you've had no intimacy with them or any of these things. How can you then get a proper grasp of, you know, who it is you think you're involved with? It's a very dangerous thing to be involved in, which is why I stood up strong against it. Because there's a lot of vulnerable people out there who can place expectations, who can then be hurt by their expectations, that can send them on tangents into fucking, you know, depressions or psychological episodes, whatever it may fucking be. Right? Again, this is why I went on about these bands of people talking about unity and people coming together. All that stuff to me felt alien and unrealistic, right? Because I don't know who you are through a screen. I can't place any relevance or place my emotional, you know, trust in you or whatever, any of that stuff, right? Just because I'm seeing you through a screen or because we're apparently united on a common question. I'm suspicious of all that type of behaviour, and I think other people should be suspicious of that and be very cautious about what you get yourself involved in. Now, I'm aware that my abrasiveness, my tonality, you know, is enough to not want people to come and interact with me at a subjective level, on a relationship level, because they're bothered by that perception that they have in their mind, and I'm well aware of that. And I've used that through the years because I deliberately didn't want people close to me, because the majority of my life I've met people who are only interested in playing games. It's very few and far between altruistic people that I've actually met who are coming at me with no agenda to manipulate or deceive or any of these things. The majority of people that I've experienced in my life are coming with that. So I've had this posterior, this exterior, barrier, right? Because it's a fuck you, no nonsense. So game players and whatever else are going to think twice about even trying to get close to me, because it's going to be a hard task for them. Those that are really interested are going to display for me that they're interested, and then I'm going to have a look at that. So, and again, I understand there's vulnerability, I understand there's people at different levels of emotional progress, emotional dysfunction, psychological progress, psychological dysfunction. As I say, absolutely none of us are perfect in any way, shape or form. Okay? Some of us have had different experiences, some of us have had different contemplations, different realizations. Some other people may have it at different times, and we're all walking pretty much similar paths and arriving at different bus stops at different times. Right? So, again, I forget where I was going with this now, but I just wanted to offer that up. I'm strong in my approach, because remember, the topic of discussion that I'm involved in is the shape of the earth. It's an objective inquiry. Okay? Now, I've said before, I never came on here to make friends or to be your friend or any of that stuff. That doesn't negate that there's the opportunity there for us to be friends. But friendship and all that stuff requires interaction, experience of each other. I'm not a robot. I have the full spectrum of emotion. Okay? I can go from extreme anger to extreme love, extreme stinginess to extreme kindness. I've got all the possibilities. And so have you. So we really need to stop pigeonholing each other and trying to pigeonhole somebody so that you can feel as if you're on a tier above them and whatever else. That's a hierarchy. You're creating a false structure in your mind. And if you try and live that out, you're just going to create problems for yourself left, right and centre. I certainly don't take kindly to people who come at with an attitude of superiority. Right? I've got an immediate vicious contempt for it. The same as I have for anybody that tries to stamp authority over the top of me. People like that, people that like this clown here, that come up with judgmental, statements with no real understanding, nothing. You don't judge people in regards to stature or hierarchy. I mean, are people really running about still looking at other people and assessing them and going, ho ho ho, I'm this and they're that, therefore, I mean, that's tyrannical, fascist type thinking. You're a fucking wronging. You're for the watching in my book. There isn't some animals that are more equal than others. If you start doing that path, you're on a path of destruction. Not only for yourself, but you're going to cause destruction and angst and fucking misery for loads of other people. Which is exactly what we see in the world we're experiencing right fucking now. So I know I may be not the most approachable person, but I'm really. I've got the ability to listen. I'm not one of these people that's just, waiting for my turn to speak. I've got the ability to listen to you. I've got the ability to hand out my hand in compassion when I know that you're somebody who's in a real place of angst or worry or whatever it may be. But there's a huge difference between that and people who are just players that want to be victims and play all these fucking continual games all the time. When you're somebody who's in a real position of that, I'll be the first one to come and try and relate with you so that you don't feel isolated and alone. But you have to approach, if you're looking for that, you have to be wise in who you're approaching for it. But as I say, for me, I realised that was a pointless endeavour through my experience, because the only person that can help me is me. Fair enough, it is good sometimes to say things out, which is why we have things like counselling, because they're just there for you to speak out what it is you're feeling internally, so that you've got a point of reference to hear it back and hear yourself saying it. I can be that for anybody. So I say, it's not an easy thing, this whole process. You know, coming to the realisation that you've been an ignorant fool in your life, and you've taken things on hearsay, you've made assumptions about things, you're discovering, you know, things only the way you thought they were, and having to deal with that, and then to put yourself out there, which, you know, credit to anybody that does it, takes strength. To put yourself out there and to, you know, sit and take the backlash that comes from that takes great courage and strength. But some people come at it and they're not prepared for that. I was well aware of what was going to come my direction, so I was kind of prepared for it, although I've not always reacted to the best. But I was prepared for what was going to come my direction. But some people come into it blindly, almost naively. You know, this is why I'm suspicious of these people that throw these narratives out there of, oh, kumbaya, we're all in it together and this, that and the other. Because we're no. There's always players amongst us. So you have to be cautious about where you're placing your trust, your expectation, all these things, because you're responsible for them. And that bothers me when people have these expectations of others, and then when people don't fulfill their expectations, they lash out at that person as if they must take responsibility for it. That's a form of gaslighting. If another human being behaves in a way that you say it affects your emotions, then that's your fault. Because an old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. And there's profoundness in that. Because whatever somebody else does, unless they're physically assaulting me, right? Whatever they do, you know, is, you know, I can attach to that, I can have expectations on it, I can believe them, I can whatever else, but there's always you at the root of that, putting yourself to that. It's your expectation, it's your belief, it's your ignorance, it's your whatever. You can't point externally at people for things that are subjective. I hope that makes sense to you, because I see it as a huge problem right now, and I see so many people running about like that. They're the poor helpless victim, and everybody else is to blame. As I say, there may be people who have came here and went away, been disheartened or disappointed or whatever, but again, that's their expectations. As I say, if you're judging me on anything on here, the only thing that you should be considering is the content that I'm offering you. Because that's why I'm on here. I'm not on here offering you my subjective and asserting that it's true or any of these fucking things. So you need to have that clarity and keep that focus. What are you involved in this for? What are you looking for? Are you on here looking for friends? Do you care about truth? Do you care about the topic? Are you passionate about the topic? If you're no, then, you know, don't intermingle them. Because if you open up these opportunities, this is where the players come in and they start to, you know, get in the ears of people and start separating people and causing, you know, tension between people, blah, blah, blah. Because people are coming in with naive states of mind. And I still have that guard. This is a thing for me. It's like this is an ongoing war, if you like. We're not at the end yet. But so many people are just down in tools and going, oh, let's have a party. Yeah. I don't see it like that. As I said before, if we can ever get through this, then fine. I'd love to spend time travelling the fucking pond, coming and meeting you, having social interactions, getting to know each other, having a bit of a fucking hoo-ha. That would be great. But we're not in that position yet. And then you get people contributing to it. They'll just make propaganda. They'll highlight the aggressiveness, the anger, the fuck you, whatever. They'll just misrepresent you, the blah blah. And again, that plays on the perceptions of other people, which causes a chasm between possible, interaction and productive interaction between people. But people could get through all that if they focus purely on the content. If you went to another channel, say you wanted to find out how you change, the valve on your tyre or whatever it is, whatever it may be. When you go there, you're looking directly for that information. You can take that information, you can translate it to your personal experience to see if that information was correct. Then you can go, right, that person's a source that I know is giving me valid information. But if you go there and then you look at a video that somebody's made about that guy, going, oh, this guy's fucking this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And you start going, alright, he's a bit, I'm going to ignore him because that guy said so. Or somebody in the comment section says this and blah, blah. You're missing the whole fucking point. You're letting yourself be dragged into nonsense. Getting them on NASA. I've been preparing well. My wee fingers must be bleeding. I'll put slow mode on for the next one. I think I have kind of slowed it down. I remember the chat box years ago, it used to just be fucking... This is what I'm talking about. This is all the tactics that they use just to disrupt, right? Because there is a lot of people that may come to the chat and they just want to have a wee interaction with some of the icons that you've had interactions with before, and how's it going, how's the weather, and blah blah. I get that, and these motherfuckers are just interrupting it continually. But this is part and parcel. Again, being aware of what you're getting yourself involved in. Because once you've done the work and you realise that it is bullshit, you know that it's going to be protected. The bullshit of the globe is going to be protected. It's an institution, massive, right? Not only monetary wise, control wise over you, okay? Limiting you and everybody else from progress. So once you realise that, you know that it's going to be defended. We're not living in an ideal world of rationale and honesty and integrity. We're living in a world of deceptive dipshittery. The lowest of the fucking low. All the vagrants and the scummy rodents that you could ever imagine are going to be involved in this. Not just as faceless potatoes trying to defend the globular earth and dishearten you. They're going to come in as if they're on your side and they're friends and they're this, that and the other. You always need to be very aware of what's going on round about you. Trust no fucker until you can have real interaction with them and get to know them. If that's what you're looking for at that level. You don't need to place trust in them in regards to objective information. You only need to trust your ability to discern that information that's being offered to you. That's your responsibility. That clears the lines. There's no blurring of the lines there if you can manage to keep focus and discipline on those aspects. Exactly, Tony Whitcomb. Whitcomb. I would say so, world without a curve, you know, because there's a real severing of our true chronology, our true history, what we're a part of, where we came from. That's been severed massively. Well, if these children want to phone my partner late at night and say stuff about her and the children, they're fucking creepy predators. So whatever. Look how desperate they are, and many soccer accounts they've got lined up. This tells you the level of desperation of these people. So anyhow, as I was saying, I really am interested in who people are, whatever it is you've got to say and blah blah blah. You know, I think a lot of people are maybe intimidated, you know, but it's very simple. Look, when we're talking about objectivity, see, as long as people are not making outlandish affirmative statements about things, I'm not going to get annoyed. I'm not going to butt in and say, whoa, blah blah blah. I'm not going to stand for that here at this platform. But if we're just going to have, you know, an easygoing discussion about your subjectivity and, you know, relating to each other on these different levels, then we can have that easygoing interaction. So if you want to join me, you need to send me an email to the above email address. No worries, Gav. Right, let me get this opened up. So as I say, you know, right from the off, you know, I'm just always suspicious. And again, anybody that's been here, you know, when certain peoples were coming in and blah blah, you know, I kind of freaked out at that, and I wanted to push it all back, because I had to be me and stand up for what I seen as, you know, relevant and what I thought was important. And, you know, I disagreed with some of these people and what they were bringing and what they were partaking in, and I made that clear. And I also made it clear that it's not a personal level. Now, a lot of these people made it a personal thing. A lot of these people get themselves involved in group attacks and making it personal and attacking me on personal levels and blah 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 blah. That's their responsibility. You know, at the end of the day, I really don't give a fuck about that anymore. We're here now, and that's the way it was. As I say, I'm open to anybody and a discussion with anybody and having resolved with absolutely anybody. I'm not a bigot, I'm not closed-minded, I'm not filled with hatred or any of that stuff. Okay? I don't waste my time hating on people's individuals, things that happened previously. I'm not one of these people. I'm not that insecure that I need to hold on to certainty, whether it was negative, good, bad, whatever. I don't give a fuck. I just move from one moment to the next. And if things can transpire and things can progress from that moment onwards, fine. If they don't, fine. You know? Right, let me see here. just something I've been thinking about. Not sure if you ever thought along the same lines or not. People say they see the curve when they are on a plane or watching some high altitude balloon footage that isn't filmed by a GoPro. They aren't realise that we can only see in a circle. We see equal distance around us, which would give the appearance of a curve. We don't see at greater length looking one way. Exactly, and that's what me and Gav are going to talk a wee bit more about this evening. But obviously Gav's got things that have happened and transpired, so we'll leave that to another one and we can get through that. But of course there's so much, you know, that's just unresolved that people are not considering, you know, vision and how it actually functions, because nobody has an exacting understanding of what is actually going on. You know, it's the same as everything else. We experience these effects and people try and impose systems of understanding and descriptors of what they think may be going on, right? But if they had a full proper understanding, you would be recreating the human eye, but you can't even come close to it. So that tells you something. So when you see, this is why I've been so strong on it, and you know, here at this platform, Gav as well, when we're talking about purely visible phenomena, there's some serious issues there, and what we see as an emission are these issues to the point that it's just ridiculed. Get it away. So you've got globe believers who are showing you, you know, perspective field views, and then showing you an orthographic diagram view where they've just omitted, you know, human perception and the visual field and how we actually see, and just trying to confuse people. A lot of that's done deliberately. Some people may be doing it just because they're stupid and they've not really looked at it properly, but the majority of them are doing it deliberately. They know fine well what they're up to. Awoken, too many zombies. I would just like to let you know that I watch your live chats all the time. I love it. You've actually made me laugh a few times. Just so I want to say I agree with literally everything you say. Well, I wouldn't agree 100% literally with everything I say, because, you know, not everything I say is fucking correct. I say I'm the perfect, I'm the God, Messiah, fucking type person at all. So I don't agree with that you 100% agree with literally everything I say. Because I don't even agree with it some of the time. Just depends what you're talking about. If we're talking about something objective, then I'm going to make sure that I've got an understanding, and I don't want to be wrong on it. And if I'm wrong, I'll resolve it really quickly. When it comes to aspects of subjectivity, it's, you know, what have we got? All I've got's my experience. All I can do is try and communicate my experience and what I see and what I think's going on. And you can all do the same. But at no point am I going to come to you with my subjectivity and try and impose it and tell you that my subjectivity is the way. That's just going to cause fucking serious issue. I'm blocking them, Johnny Martyr. I certainly am blocking them. Right. So again, if you want to join me. I'll check that again in a wee minute. What's happening in the chat box? Let's see here. I take it none of these is getting a chance to say anything because of the infestation of morons. So the stamina these people have got, because they've not got any boyfriends, girlfriends or any of that stuff. So all their frustrations are all taken out by making sock accounts and bashing away on a piece of plastic for absolutely no reason whatsoever. It's not going to achieve anything. It's just another sign of the mental retardation and the mental illness that these cult disciples put themselves through. It's a fucking real study, to be honest with you. my attention's on the chat right now. My attention's not going to be off the chat until I get somebody in that's wanting to speak to me. Fuckery. I'll be that fucked. Shit. What have I done? What have I done? Back. Well, this is again, you know, the mods thing. You know, again, I'm not going to pick out anybody in particular, but anybody that's watched the history of this channel, you know, I had mods, I had people involved, and it caused a lot of issues and problems. And people that were involved went out into wee factions, and then, you know, were associating me with other people who were coming to this channel and who maybe were mods, and there was stuff going on, and I was being put in the centre of it as if I knew something about it or I was involved in it. And there's all this fucking shit going on, and I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm phoning people asking them what the fuck's going on, trying to get clarity, and I'm just being fucking abused left, right and centre through it. So, you know, I made the decision that it was just easier not to have any. Because this is what happens. And it's disappointing. You know, especially when you've got people who you thought that you know, again, my naivety, my responsibility, that I could trust. You know? And, you know, I trust them to be sound and on the level and to maintain that throughout. And they just never, you know. They had their expectations. They wanted me to, you know, go with their expectations, and that caused issues that turned into, you know, arguments and gaslighting, and then the communication just went. So it's difficult. This is a problem, because, you know, people have got different, you know, motives. They have different thoughts, they have different ideas. It's the weather's been alright. I've noticed that, you know, we're starting to see some, you know, trails in the skies again and some strange looking cloud formations. But, you know, as a whole, the weather has been a lot better. I will do, Auntie Meg. Aye, and then, you know, these things lead on to people starting to be suspicious of me and my intent, and I'm like, well, if you're suspicious of me and my intent, point it out in my content, because surely that's going to tell you what my intent is. And I made it clear, my intent was to clarify things, break through the bullshit, learn myself, and the ultimate goal would be to find out where the fuck we actually are, because for me it's massively the most important fucking thing. Again, other people will disagree with that. Other people think that aspects and the contents of the room are more important. Well, I don't want to get involved in the contents of the room. I want to know what the room is. As I say, a lot of that for me was disappointing and hard to take, and my reaction through it was of annoyance and hurt and whatever else, and we all don't behave the way that we want to behave, and it causes so many fucking issues and problems and whatever else, and it's disappointing because, you know, for me, you know, we need to be looking out for each other in this shit that's going on, okay? But we need to look out for each other based on the topic, right? And with honesty and integrity as best as we possibly can. You know, that always means that you've got to be able to reflect on yourself and take responsibility for what you've done. They never brought specific concerns about the content, but the moment they were questioned, suddenly BTEC is a cult coming from people who were not. Aye. Well, that's part of it, beyond belief, you know. Some of us that were involved in it know kind of what went on. as I say, it's unfortunate that these things happen, but it's part and parcel of what goes on. So again, you know, people just have to be careful of where they place their expectation. Anybody want to join me yet? Fucking hell. So I always said, you know, the Open Saturday thing was for the benefit of you people. When I get involved in this, you know, there was a lot of gatekeeping going on, and it made sense to me to offer up a platform for people to have a voice, to be able to come in, say what they want to say, you know, highlight whatever they want to highlight, question whatever they want to question, and blah blah. And I always say is, if that, you know, runs out and people are not using it for that, then I'm just going to need to move on for it, you know. But I always liked the Saturday thing because it annoyed these motherfuckers, because they wanted slots like that. They want to try and grasp the attention of people so they can misinform them, keep them in cul-de-sacs, going round in fucking circles and wee echo chambers, listening to bollocks over and over and over again, misinformation, disinformation, you know, social fucking shenanigans going on. And that's why I set up the Saturday thing. But, you know, if people don't use it, it's no skin off my nose. I'm just going to carry on being me regardless. So, if it comes to it on a Saturday, even if I've got something to say, I've got something to offer, I will. If I've no, I'll just no bother coming on. You know? So, again, it's up to you people. If you've got something to offer, you've got to let me know. But again, at the same time, I always encourage people, look, make your own channel. Be you. Get up there, say what you want to say. You know, there's enough of yous now who have done this, like live things and shown that you can do it. There's nothing to be scared of. Your fear and your interpretation is going to come because you've got an attachment to what other people think of you, and that's going to cause nervousness and anxiety in you. If you can learn to remove that and not give a fuck, again, because if you cared about what other people think, you're putting them on a pedestal, that they're somehow better or better equipped than you or whatever. That's not the case, right? We're all in the same fucking situation here. So attaching relevance to what other people think and their judgments of you, and that then being a factor of prohibiting you from, you know, making moves forward, putting yourself up here, creating a channel, whatever it is, that's your problem. That's a weakness in you that you have to address. What causes your anxiety, TMF? Just other people's reaction to you? That's the Emerald Rider. Exactly. Andrew. Exactly, Jim Eldred. A lot of people have got a problem with that because they think it's a sign of weakness. or being wrong about something and having to hold your hands up to something, but it's healthy for you. That way you're not creating a wee fucking bias internally and living in a world of fucking delusion, But it doesn't let you block them on here, I don't think. It only gives me the option of report, remove, put user in timeout and hide user.
Morning. How are you, mate?
How's it going, Andrew? Alright, mate?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I've totally respected your stance right from the beginning. I mean, this isn't frickin' tiddlywinks. If there was anything that you needed to be serious about, I'd say it was this.
Yeah.
I just want to say something. I made a video a while ago during the start of this lockdown and what people would actually expect.
Yeah.
Whether they'd let their loved ones die alone, not have this needed physical interaction, and actually ended up experiencing it, my own family. About 2 weeks ago, my oldest brother, his boy died, 19.
Yeah.
And, to even try and convince my own family of the crap. So I understand, the frustration of just trying to get through to the masses, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. I just found it incredible how they were, how you'd actually. It's so simple. It's so blatantly simple. All of this crap, this physical thing that we're actually talking about. These people blatantly deny it or pulling all this nonsense in the chat. I either think they don't have the intelligence to dress themselves, so then I wonder how they're actually typing.
Yep.
Or they're either just blatantly at it, as you say. What wouldn't be more protected than this structure?
Exactly. And that's the naivety that bothers me with people, that they're coming into these things and thinking, if you really are aware of it and you've contemplated and looked at it, then you would understand that it's going to be protected, and that people are going to be, fighting tooth and nail to protect their wee religious cult beliefs. And not only that, you've got the agencies, the institutions who are involved in protecting, their stature, their monetary benefit. All these things play a role, so you can't come into it naively, unaware that that's what's going to be going on, because we don't live in an ideal world of rationality.
No, not at all. No, the moment I decided to make a channel or get involved with it on this level, I was aware of it for at least a year before actually, but it's of such a nature that you either have to do something or actually deny really the reality of it. And then I came into it fully aware that what wouldn't have more bullshit around it than this. And the flack that you would get. It's quite used to trolling on gaming, as you might know, with my channel. But yeah, it is idiotic games they play, and you are just right to ban them. I have on my channel. And the people in the chat, they're so obvious. These people stand out. Just block them immediately.
Exactly.
They wither and die when you don't feed them, these trolls.
Yeah. So, I mean, giving a new account the benefit of the doubt, you can tell pretty quickly when you offer something articulated that's factual, that could demonstrate or check for themselves, and they just omit it and avoid. As soon as you see that, instantly you get somebody who's disingenuous, and probably the best thing is just to block them right away. because you're just going to frustrate yourself trying to reason with them and have a breakthrough. They're not here to have a breakthrough. They're here to just, you know, break your patience and get you hot and bothered, you know. So
yeah, and I wonder if them are just some of them so deluded that they just go along with this crap, not being aware of how much nonsense it is,
yeah,
and just thinking that they'll just keep repeating the same crap because somewhere somebody knows, and they're going to defend me. They're going to back it up.
yeah.
You know, somebody with some position of authority. So I can just regurgitate nonsense I've heard.
Exactly. And a lot of them are wee dysfunctional, as I say, vagrants. They've got nothing else to do with their time. They're probably on a tag. They're sitting in mommy's basement, whatever it may be. They're just, you know, scumbags. They're really empty, you know.
Yeah.
But as I say,
anyway, I just wanted to jump on. I've actually got a few things to do this morning. I'm bummed out about that sunrise thing the other day because it happened so much earlier.
Yeah.
And today again it's cloudy, but the sun's high in the sky. Yeah. It's 20 minutes ago, you know, kind of thing.
It's still here in your sky, although we're kind of whitey out right now, you know. But
yeah, I actually want to have a talk to Nick if he can get hold of us sometime too.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, Nick, it'd be great if you could get in touch.
Yeah. Hopefully I heard that, mate.
But yeah, you can't go along with any of this unless you deny all of what you are, all your senses, all your knowledge. You have to put your belief in someone else and some concepts and ideas.
Yep. Exactly.
I won't do that.
Exactly, mate. There's no requirement for you to do that. That's the power of the brainwashing, the cult that you're born into. You know, that asserts to you that that's what's expected of you when you go to school and you get into these institutions. That's their structure, you know.
Yeah, and the fear of social ostracism.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they're doing it with this lockdown, which is just to stop people getting together. You can't stop people protesting. If you took away that right immediately, people go, oh, hey, what's up here? You know, all that nonsense.
Yeah.
But now you're making the people choose it.
Yeah.
They're going to enforce it on themselves. Exactly. And they'll look and point and scorn people who decide to gather.
Yep. Exactly, mate.
Anyway.
Exactly, mate.
Yeah, you have a good one, mate. I'll get in touch.
Definitely, mate.
And yeah, if you're snack, give us a yell, mate.
No worries, bud.
Okay, have a good one, guys.
You too, mate. Take it easy.
Bye.
I've just realised Andrew was showing the sky there. So, I don't get any guests. I'll take recommendations of topics of discussion. I'll give you my thoughts on it. If you want to bring any up in the chat. It's as if they've wore their wee fingers down to the bone now. Good. I always say, they'll get sick of it before we will. No idea what this Wolverines thing is, but you're going to just keep spamming the chat. Mark of the Beast patent filled by Microsoft. I've not looked at that. Mind the God. If I've not looked at it, I've not got anything really to say about it. Talk about the hard problem. How's the family holding it? I assume my wife knows it's nonsense. Yep. Of course. I don't know about that, AB. That's one of the things in it. You know, people have these different, as I was pointing out about deism, and then other different factions of that, where they think that, you know, God's like an engineer, you know, or the creator's an engineer that just creates stuff and then has no real interaction with them. There's other people that think there's a direct interaction, there's blah 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 blah. But again, you know, it always simplifies it for me, bring it back to the root of it. If we're going to postulate that we're part of something infinite, something eternal, then, you know, living within this, you know, apparent separation, this construct of time and, you know, sequences of events in a linear type fashion, to think that, you know, whatever you do here is somehow going to transcend that would be to suggest that, you know, you're going to make a change at that metaphysical level. But the problem there is how can you, if it's infinite and eternal, then how can you add or to take anything away from that? You know? As I say, for me, the only thing I can identify myself as, going back to things like the hard problem, is in any given situation, the only thing I have that I know for sure is that I can experience things. So me and Gav had a wee kind of discussion about that last night. You know, and I understand, you know, in my waking life I'm experiencing physicality and blah 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 blah, scenarios, light, you know, events, emotions, whatever else. The same is also true in a dream state. You know, a dream state's a kind of metaphysical realm, if you like. It's no, you know, something that I can call objective, but you know, in a dream state with a similar thing, you know, a scenario, a setting, an interaction, emotions, blah blah. When I come out of that, I have a memory of that. You know, in both cases, the commonality of both cases is that I had experience. You know, regardless of what it was, you know, I still had this aspect of, you know, an experiencer, an awareness of things going on. Now I see that, you know, in our everyday life. We're having experience all the time. Now what's happening is that you're building relations to these experiences based on previous events, based on, you know, however you formulated a relationship with whatever particular things going on at that time. But the only thing that's really true in it is that you're just having the experience, you know. So, you know, all these different philosophies of mind and, you know, existence and all that stuff, it's just distractions as far as I'm concerned. It's just people looking for substitutes, right? Because they've lost that innate ability to explore and continually progress in their exploration. They're sitting static because they think there's no exploration, so they're just exploring internally, imagination, concept, abstract, you know, and they're offering these up and communicating them and formulating them into packages and then putting it out there as content in books and philosophies and at universities and whatever else. And people, you know, there's an actual inquiry of human beings that are looking for truth and what's my existence about, and they go and they read these things and they relate to them and they go, oh, you know, they formulate a bias, they stand on that bias, they defend the bias, you know, it's bizarre. Aye, the switcheroo, it's on this channel as well. Anybody that wants to go and view it, it's excellent. That's it, you know. As I say, if I analyse, you know, just what I'm going to offer up, what I see is happening is like, you know, if I spin you round and round continually, right, and you're disorientated completely, and then I come and I take you and I say, oh, this is left and this is right, and you're going up here and you're going downhill and up, but you know, because you're so disorientated, you don't know. Now you've got an external influence that's offering you up suggestion that you're taking on board and incorporating it. Oh, he says I'm going left, he says I'm going right, when in reality you're disorientated. On a psychological level, that's what's being done, you know, with these manipulators, and this is how manipulation works. They knock you, the sentience, off centre. You've been disorientated to the point of disassociation with your own being. So as soon as that happens to you, and it happens through trauma, you know, like going to nursery schools, being involved in these institutions, whatever else, there's forms of gaslighting going on that decenters you from your faculty, right? So you then become almost like a passenger, right? And then what's happening is that external influence is coming in. So you've been taught that authority says so, blah blah blah, mother and father says so, authority says this is what you will do. That's a psychological tool to knock you off centre of your own discernment. Now the minute you're removed from that central point of discernment, you're now affected by external influence. You know, relationships and structures have been made from a very young age that you may not be aware of, right? So you have relationships to certain things. Things can be used to trigger and invoke, you know, a psychological pattern or an emotional pattern, blah blah. You know, and that's because, as I say, all this stuff's happening and you don't fully understand it, but it's being incorporated in there. Now what happens is the machine starts to become the boss, right? Not on a conscious level. It's just taking all this in. You know, patterns and structures have been created, and now that's influencing you. This is how advertising and subliminals can work, right? Because a human being that's not centralised and discerning all the stimulus that's coming in can now be affected by that at a distance. So you can then, if you can instill certain, you know, frameworks within their psychology, as they develop and they get older, they maintain those frameworks. You are aware of those frameworks and you're aware that the discernment's not there. So you can then influence that framework, the psychological framework, by different stimulus. And for me, that's what I see happening. So there's like a disassociation from the self with people, and this is why they're in this hypnotic fucking trance of taking things blindly, you know, being, you know, this is why people react on emotional impulse, because the discerner has been off-centred, right? So many times you hear that with people, you see people just reacting you know, impulsively because they're being triggered by different things that they've created relationships with, you know, or associations that goes back to previous events in their life or whatever. You know, this is why I've always went on about that, why there's no a proper education in regards to the human mind, you know, and how it actually functions and how to be, you know, be centred and to properly discern. And that's never offered up to you. You're just put into a situation of trauma, right? Dysfunction. I don't care. Put your hand up if you want to go to the toilet. This is what you must remember. This is what you must repeat. If you do this, that means success. That means you're good. Blah, 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 blah. So, you know, children have been fucking off-centred right away from that. And then they're looking to these, you know, idols, these icons that have set themselves up to give them the stimulus. I'm just upset I didn't get an education. I'm dead upset with myself that I didn't have the ability to just fucking blindly take everything on faith and regurgitate, repeat on command. I know. I should be fucking ashamed of myself. I really am that disappointed. School really helped me in my adult life, you know. School really was a support network of, you know, instilling individuality and independence. I mean, experience is the best teacher. You know, you can sit in school and learn about fucking air conditioning units or the internal combustion engine all you fucking like, right? That's not going to help you when it comes to the actual hands-on practicality, the actual experience, right? Not going to help you at all. It's an interesting paper. I think it's Thomas Nagel wrote one called "What It's Like to Be a Bat," or the problem with Mary was another one. I think that's the one I should be referring to. That highlights these things, and it's just pretty much the same. You know, you can sit there and take everything on language, whatever you fucking like. It is not ever going to account for the experience of, and that's part of going back to the hard problem again. Mary can sit in a room and be told everything there is to know about a fucking rose, right? But what you can't teach Mary is what it's like to experience a rose, because that's a total different scenario altogether. So it always applies. Sitting in fucking classrooms, taking hearsay on board and then repeating it on command is just brainwashing. It's a structure of brainwashing. But if you go things like, as I referred to the trivium, which again I have to state that the trivium's a mapping based on human experience first and foremost. It's not the cause of human experience. You know, this is a problem with human beings and maths and stuff when they create their wee systems. They think that because they've got a wee system that they've devised, that somehow created the thing. It's just fucking lunacy. So, you know, things like the trivium is a mapping of like language and processing information, how to tear things apart. It's pretty much just be a questioner. Ask questions all the time. Set out with a goal to find the contradiction or find the flaw. That's always been my method. Well, how can I break that? How do I find the flaw, the problem, the contradiction here? The only way I can do that is by asking the questions. Because if you ask the questions, the contradictions will become apparent. So, you know, there's simplistic aspects, as I've said before, these things are in everybody. The problem is you are never given the vocabulary to articulate it. So the majority of the time people get frustrated. They can recognise all the fallacious stuff that's going on about them. It seems to be within you. You get that through experience. But the problem comes is that you don't have the vocabulary to be able to articulate it. So it usually comes out as some emotional fucking reaction. Exactly, beyond belief. Sorry about that, Meek Dan. I'll take a draw off camera so as not to hurt you. Right, Bill. But what are you teaching them, Carol and Devon? That's the problem. What are you actually teaching them? You have to analyse that. What does teach mean? Ian McGilchrist is a psychiatrist, writer and former Oxford literary scholar. McGilchrist came to prominence after the publication of his book The Master and His Emissary. That name rings a bell. Ellen Degenerates. I'll check that out. If you can send me a link to something, that'd be appreciated. What's the basics? You communicate with them, you interact with your children, you nurture them, you have an awareness of who they are, what their interests are, and try and help them to develop it. Bill, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Neil. How about yourself?
No bad, mate, no bad.
So, what's going on? Anything exciting?
No, I'm just here speaking as usual, my man. You know.
I know. I've been listening. I got a. You said something yesterday. It was actually just two words. It was the words cast out.
Yeah.
It was in reference to something else, but it was something that I've been thinking about for quite a long time. It's just, again, something subjective, just an idea off of the main theme. But what I've been thinking about, and I'd like maybe your take on this, is what I thought was maybe what happened was, if you take some of the stuff out of some of the books that were written, which I've done, and not to bolster any kind of a bias that I have or anything, but just the idea that might actually be the case and there might actually be an exit to this place. Mm-hmm. So what if in fact there is an exit and an entrance to this place? Yep. And a long time ago, a time before we know, and our grandparents and maybe even our grand-grandparents know, that we were pushed out, or a group of people were pushed out from a very good area, and maybe the area that controls everything else that we see.
Yeah.
Our world in general.
Yeah.
The skies, the stars, the revolving, everything that's going on. And they know everything that's going on. Well, they pushed this group of people out because they had a lot of the traits that current humans have.
Aye.
And because of that, they pushed them out. Those people developed into all the other peoples, and then maybe there were other peoples from other areas that came out, and they pushed them out as well. Yeah. And that's why we got different kinds of people.
Yep.
Of different races. Go ahead.
Like a kind of Garden of Eden type scenario. Bill.
Yeah, exactly. Where we were cast out from the Garden of Eden. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thought. But then the thing is that they knew that eventually some of us might find our way back.
Yeah.
By exploring. So they've made agreements.
Yep. I think there's a book. I'm not sure. I think is it called the Iron Republic, maybe.
Okay.
I think that points to exactly that, and some of the expeditions that were done, they came across that area, and the treaty was formed, and an exchange was made in regards to technology and whatever else.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting.
So I'm sure it's called the Iron Republic. Hang on, I've got the chat box. I'm sure somebody will verify or tell me I'm wrong for that.
The Iron Republic. Okay. Yeah. See, that's kind of what I've thought about for a lot of different years in different ways, but just with recent events and things like that, just kind of made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
And that that these people are still getting. That's where we're getting all of our technology from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that we really don't, like you've said many times, and I've said the same thing, that people don't even understand the technology they're holding in their hand.
Exactly. There's a huge disconnect with that, Bill. Again, I was talking to Gal a wee bit about that last night. People have got this attitude, of technology, and because they can operate it, they think they're smart, or they've got a grasp on it. But the minute you ask the question, well, what is the technology? What is actually going on? There's a real blank spot, and that's not just in regards to that. I'm sure you've heard me talking about family member electrician for almost 50 years, and he had never been asked the question, what is electricity? And you could see that he'd never even thought about it. So we're kind of born into the practices and the way of life that we have, and we never pay much attention to these things. We kind of take them for granted. And in particular with some of the tech, I think there's loads of clues to this reality, what the bigger picture of this reality in some of this modern tech that we have, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that statement. One of the things you said earlier today, and you've said it many times before, which I have a tendency to not agree with, is the metaphysical. Like you say, when you experience something, that it can't add to, if something is eternal, you can't add to that eternal.
No.
And for me, just for looking at the world the way it is and how things always grow and change, and if you stop growing or you stop changing, that's the end of life. Life there ends at that point.
Yeah.
So for me, just for my subjective thinking, it is that these experiences that I experience are in fact carried on.
Yeah.
And they're carried on, and given, they're taken away at the point of death, if you will. And the slate is wiped clean, and that information enhances and endures the eternal. That's just my personal feeling about that whole subject that you've talked about many times. I mean, I understand what you're saying, what you've said in the past about, it's just an experience.
Well, if I can just add to that, as I say, obviously it's not a battle of who's right and who's wrong. It's just that, for me, it's I have issue trying to resolve that. The whole aspect of something being added, because for me, then, the infinite, the eternal, gave rise to any possibility of us having that particular experience. But you have a sort of maybe free will where you can move through passages and different experiences that you could have took a different path, made a different decision yesterday that would have took you on a different path. But all these possibilities were already existed. I've spoken about that in regards to music. I really had a deep contemplations about when I say I've made a new tune, where do I get the ability to say that? Because there's a bit of pomposity and a bit of hubris in my part if I was to state that, because I never gave rise to any of this. So for me to then say, well, I own that tune's mine, I created that, did I? Or did my pathway just allow me to uncover that potential that already existed there in the first place? It's like, well, there may be a video on YouTube or on the internet somewhere, you go and you discover it, you're the first person that's discovered it. Did you create it? Do you have ownership on it? Or did you just, as I say, discover it and had that experience of it? You know what I mean? And for me, that kind of makes sense. I can resolve that. When I get to the point of, well, my experience here somehow transcends and creates something new, that would make that thing that I'm trying to articulate finite in some way, and then I'm back to the infinite regress again. Well, if it's finite, that has to be taking place somewhere. What's it expanding into? What's surrounding it? Is it finite? Then if that thing's finite, it must be contained within something else. So what's that? And you're just always back to an infinite regress again. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. For me, just I have a problem resolving it when it comes to transcendent meaning of this experience. So and I think just to add to it, I think a lot of people, because they see what they would call injustice, wrong in the world, blah blah. This is for me what pushes people towards these ideas of transcendental justice and meaning and purpose and whatever else, because it's a trauma, and I understand why they would opt for these psychological frameworks because of the trauma. But that's just me. As I say, Bill, none of us are perfect, none of us have the fucking answers. We can only offer up our musings. You think about it the way you think about it, I think about it the way I think about it. Who's wrong, who's right, does it really matter?
No, it doesn't matter. In my opinion, it doesn't matter.
No.
It's just, a topic of discussion. It's something to think about. Yeah. It's something to ponder over, if you will. So I just, it's just something I struggle with. You know, I want to understand the way you think about it, but it's hard for me to think that way when, you know, if just, and again, just for me, these experiences, you know, many of them are very trivial, but some are I don't want to say earth-shattering, but, you know, some of them are, well, maybe they are for me.
But that all comes on, again, you know, you being subject to your previous events and experiences, you know, it plays a role. The other kind of analogy I was thinking about it was as, you know, Bill, you know, is like we've got virtual reality technology now. So imagine you put a virtual reality, you know, helmet on and you're experiencing that experience and you uncover something that somebody else never uncovered within that virtual reality world, and then, you know, you or I start going, well, I found it, so it's mine. I have ownership of it, blah, blah, blah. That's what I'm saying. It's like, no, whoever created the game, you know, put it there, gave it the potential to be discovered. You know, and then us as the experiencer within it start professing it's ours and we own it and this, that, and the other, and you know, I don't know. I have real issues with that type of thing. But as I say,
I have a real problem with the ownership thing myself, because if I were a musician, which, you know, I was a few years back, but no longer. But if I continued in that field, playing piano. You know, I just, you know, anything that I created, and I have created some things that I think are unique and special in my life, whether it be with software, whether it be with music or whatever, and they are unique and special to me only. But you know what? I don't own any of this shit.
Yeah.
All this stuff is just shit.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you know, I have a real problem with people saying I own this piece of music. Blah, 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 you know, I own this because I found this or I created this.
Yeah.
Same thing with people looking for the, you know, the consummate video that's going to explain the world to them.
That again, the cosmology aspect can play a role in that attitude, Bill, you know, because if it's just nothingness, random chance happenings, that's when people start pursuing this egotistical, you know, idea of ownership, and it's theirs and they can dominate it and over everybody else and blah blah. Whereas, you know, flip the cosmology to realising that something gave rise to it, that it's no fucking yours, it humbles you and kind of limits that type of you know, mindset progressing. Do you know what I mean? It's, you know, I think it plays a huge role in it, because I was talking to somebody about that the other day and they were kind of saying the whole thing again, well, what does it really matter? You know, and I was kind of pointing these things out. Well, it really does matter, because look what it can create. You can create a certain psychological framework that people are operating within based on, you know, these cosmological fucking teachings, these stories, you know?
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah. I know. I heard all the stories, too, when I was a kid.
Exactly.
So, you know, I fought it, you know, much like yourself. I fought it tooth and nail.
Yeah.
And that's why the education system never really worked for me. It just never did. You know, I kind of got through it just barely and just said, you know, the hell with this crap. And anybody that I talk to, I always give them the advice, you know, stay away from school if possible, if at all possible.
Exactly.
Get a skill, you know, if you're interested in this paper money crap, then get a skill.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. That's you get back to the teaching your children again. Well, I need to watch their natural progress, where their natural aptitude is, where their natural desires and ambitions are, and try and help them to, you know, realise it and progress within that. And you know, that creative play of enjoyment and fulfilment, you know, if, you know, where you're going to apply it to some sort of monetary, then, you know, I reckon it will bring them success in that regard. They will achieve, you know, monetary gain and whatever else, but I'll always, you know, help them to be aware that that's no the nourishment. The nourishment is to always pursue and fulfill their natural, you know, desire. You know, and again, obviously offering up the golden rule aspect. You know, as long as you're not imposing yourself on others, then, you know, for me that's my boundary, whether I'm right to do so or no. But for me, you know, we're living amongst each other. There has to be, and I never mentioned this, but when I was out last weekend, we get pulled over by the police, me and my mate, And I had a real fucking tit for tat with these three coppers at the side of the road, trying to put them in their place. And trying to highlight that to them, look, at the end of the day, this is all founded upon the simplistic golden rule, So where's your claimant? Where have I broke or stepped over the line with the golden rule? If that's not happened, mind your own fucking business, Because for me, it's essential if we're going to live, amongst each other. We have to have some sort of baseline like that, and that's the one that makes sense to me. Obviously, it's been extrapolated on and fucking bastardised to, fuel corruption and, different interest groups, but that's what we're faced with. But when it comes right down to it, it's fucking simple, is it not? I don't fuck with you, you don't fuck with me, fucking let's leave it at that,
Exactly.
All we can do is have discussions with each other.
One of the best things you've ever said. No. You don't fuck with me, I don't fuck with you.
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
Just to give you an update on what's been happening here, if I haven't mentioned to you, usually on one of my bike runs, my trail runs, I go by the hospital. It's just something that I do.
Yeah.
It's on my run. I was doing it before all this crap happened, and I got to be perfectly honest with you. I see lots of construction going on. It looks like they're building another wing of this Adventist hospital here in Orlando, and their parking lots are empty.
Exactly. I mean, that's one of the things, Bill. It really baffles me. They made such a big deal of taking over conference centres, erecting these, temporary hospital facilities and all these beds and all this equipment, and people are now going, hang on a minute, they're fucking empty. It's like that people are so wrapped up in their own victimhood and playing to their own victimhood that they just are blind to discerning what's actually going on around about them.
Yeah, it's really bad. As a matter of fact, I was kind of planning on taking a little trip to Colorado Springs because about 2 weeks ago I kind of looked into it and I was able to make reservations and everything, no problem. Yeah. Except of course not flying. I would have to take a bus or a train.
Yeah.
And but now I'm not going to do that because now it's mandatory on U.S. trains and the bus system that you have to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not wearing a fucking Halloween mask. I'm not doing it.
Exactly.
Just not going to happen. So looks like travel's out for me for a while.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
even here in the United States. So
you got your bike, mate. Fuck them.
Yeah, exactly. I got 2 bikes, and I'm just gonna keep seeing as much as I can possibly see and interact with as many people as I can interact and talk with as many people and just basically have discussions about the things that you and I have talked about and the things that you talk about every week.
Yeah.
And just hopefully maybe sometime. I gotta say, just to be perfectly honest with you, I really don't think that us finding full exploration is going to happen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Especially because of what's happening now.
Yeah. Oh, people are deeply distracted, Bill.
Yeah, you can't even bring the subject up to anyone. As soon as what the hell do I give about this fuck about how if the Earth is flat?
Exactly.
I gotta wear a mask. I gotta stay at home.
Exactly. That's the problem. How do you bring them to realising the relevance and the importance of that question?
Exactly.
When they're so caught up in the middle of the ball of string, they're not interested in taking an end and trying to unravel it. So
they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. Their ego gets in the way all the time.
Exactly, mate.
I see it immediately within the first 5 minutes. I know I'm talking to the wrong person.
Yeah. Exactly, mate.
Exactly. So, I end it in a good way usually, but, sometimes it doesn't end in a good way, but most of the time it does.
That's it.
Nowadays, because I picked up some skills from a friend of mine over in Scotland. Don't tell anybody.
Good man. Good stuff, mate.
Anyway, I just wanted to let you know there's a couple of things I've been thinking about. Of course, there's lots more, but I just wanted to say hello and thank you for all your good thoughts and all your sharing. Because that's what it's about. Giving good information to people so they can make some good decisions. Yeah,
nice one, mate.
I really like that thing you did last week about if you get approached by the police.
Aye.
I cut the segment of that out and I passed it along to several people who have really bad tempers.
Good. Well, that's the thing, you know. It's a pity that I didn't, video that interaction, because that was another classic example of being able to articulate your position and knowing the position, and trying to get these people to stand on their oath and represent what they're supposed to represent. And as you said a minute ago, ego is a massive problem where these people are just going to overstep the mark, abuse their power. Whether it's willfully participating or through fear of repercussions from their peers or whatever. There's so many driving factors, but again, with all this stuff about speaking to the police, we're not in an ideal situation, and you can be as articulate, you can be as calm, be as reasonable as you want, and you're still going to be subjected to these people with a power trip. So it's really difficult, and again, in that situation, I was really giving it to these guys, tight. And it's funny, they're even trying to bring things up like the war and our ancestors, and I'm going like, whoa, just you fucking stop a minute, son. Don't dare bring up the war and what our ancestors fought against, or apparently fought against, because what you're partaking in right now is exactly what they tried to stand up against, and you're too fucking blind to see it. Says, look at you, you've got two people here out on their bikes, wearing a helmet and a mask, minding their own fucking business, and you're pulling us, harassing us, asking for papers. Where are you going? You're like the fucking Gestapo. And I even made the gesture, Zeke Kyle with a hand, and they're fucking, the big guys like, you can't do that. Fucking, it was so funny. I wish I had it recorded, because it was a perfect example to show people, look, you can learn all this stuff all you like, but you're not in an ideal world. It's not always going to work out for you. The best thing that anybody can do is just stand your ground, shut your fucking mouth, and let them do whatever they're going to do, because they're the ones that are going to be liable at the end of the day, So
yeah, exactly.
Aye.
And I don't know how they, what they think. I luckily have not run into a police altercation. I plan to enact some of those rules about just shaking my head and acting like a dummy.
Well, the best thing for me, Bill, is to fucking just be thankful that you're not having interactions with them. Avoid the fuckers as best as you fucking can. Because it's very few and far between when you get somebody who stands on what they're supposed to stand for, because they don't even understand it themselves. You're just getting these egotists and these dysfunctional people who don't even understand their own mind, giving them a fucking sense of superiority and authority, and sending them out there to stamp it all over the place,
Yeah, no, it always, was it two or was it one, or was it a couple of police officers?
Started off with one, and then, he started to get the shaky hand syndrome because his ego was being questioned, and his delusion of authority was being questioned, and he radioed for backup. So it ended up with three of them,
Yeah, that's usually it. Because once he's got his back up, his ego goes right back up to 150%.
And they use every fallacy under the sun. They're resorting to emotional manipulation and fallacies, and trying to pin 27,000 deaths on me. It's my responsibility. Just absolute crackpots. Anything to avoid them taking responsibility and standing up for their integrity and what they're supposed to represent. So it's a real fucking mess, mate. Honestly, a real fucking mess.
What's the 27,000 deaths?
I was going about the 27,000 deaths in the UK apparently due to fucking coronavirus, and he's going to take me to the morgue and blah blah blah.
Yeah, we're at 2 million over here. I'm waiting for the big 6 million number, because they love that number. They love 6 million. So
3,300,033 or some fucking thing.
There you go. Whatever bakes your potato, fucker.
Right. Exactly.
Anyway, Del, I ain't going to keep you, because you probably have throngs of people that are going to come in there and talk to you.
Aye, it's fucking, they're queuing up, mate. It's like fucking a queue for the supermarket.
Yeah, there's somebody 6 feet behind me with a mask on waiting to talk to you.
Cheers, bud. Appreciate it.
You take care of yourself. Thank you for the link, Del.
No worries, mate.
Cheers, buddy.
Speak to you soon, bud. Do you have a video of your path to flat earth? No, I've spoke about it previously on some of the earlier stuff, so you would probably need to troll through some of the earlier stuff. I think, you know, it was discussed in some of the earlier uploads, you know, with me and Marty in the shed and whatever else. So you can go and have a look if you like. Well, this is it, you know, they're putting it down dies with, not of. But they're still struggling to justify the fucking noise that they made. As I say, I just wish people would start putting their attention to these extra facilities, the conference centres, the exhibition centres that were taken over and set up as makeshift hospitals. So, you know, unless they're still going to be utilised for something else that's coming down the pipeline, people are going to ask questions about these things because there's absolutely no fucker in them. Not even the main hospitals. You go to the main hospitals and they're fucking ghost towns. So, no, that's it, Crystal Rudderpower. But what they'll put down is man jumps off cliff, died with coronavirus. Is that right beyond belief for me? Have you look at that? Didn't know that. What's happening? Aye, Graham, I think there's something bigger coming, aye.
Tea?
Might as well. Spanks.
Why not?
Spanksies.
You're
You
welcome.
don't even have to ask for that one.
Tea?
It's a bonus. You're learning. The spankings must be working. See, the spankings must be working. Tell my people, I have to tell my people that it's her that does the spankings. Whatever the fuck that means. I know I'm a lucky man. I know that. I know that. So, I'm still on. If you want to join me, you can join me. Send an email. All on that. Any other topics of discussion happening? I said spanking didn't mean like, you know, ooh, bend over and spank your bum. I mean spanking like fucking jab. I should correct that. Kick. So a wise man once says, never lift your hand to a woman. That's why God gave you feet. It's just a fucking joke before you fucking jump on the bandwagon. I mean, there'll be outrage with the feminists and fucking snowflakes of around giving me hell for it. Ooh, you can't say that, that's inciting violence to women. Whatever. Having a joke doesn't mean to say that that's what you're. Okay? High sexist virtue signalling incoming, exactly. Right. Anyhow, give me something to talk about. Aye, they cut the sleeves off my Iron Maiden t-shirt, the Emerald Rider. Flash a bit of nipple. That makes me a real man. Tough as nails. Next week I'll be dragging my fucking sofa out onto the front garden. Spilling it everywhere.
I know.
It's going to leave rings on my
Oh, stop your mind.
top notch table, and then you're going to have to work hard to clean it.
No, I don't think so.
And a bit of sexism. Shut up, woman's for. You think women's just for beating and cleaning after you? I mean, that's a fucking disgrace. You obviously never met Emma. If that's what she put up with, and that's what she allowed, I would never respect her and I couldn't be with her. So, it's only the insecure that need to beat other people down and have them in a weak position because they're terrified. That's what we look. Yeah, no guests. Nobody fucking likes me. Boo hoo. I think I'll go and eat worms. So give me something to talk about while I have my cup of tea. Mr. Cheswick got deleted, did he? Are you sure about that? Did he get deleted or has he just left? Huh? Play the Show Me IT vid, I don't know what that is. The Show Me It vid. What one's that? Oh, you're talking about the wee music thing? No, but no, what I'll do right now, I'm going to promote my son, who has another excellent fucking video up there. So let me just get that up. Hold on a minute. I know that a lot of people are not going to fully understand what he's actually saying, but I think it's fucking excellent. And he's really, really good lyrically and being able to deliver it, and I'm proud of that. So I'm going to fucking share it right now.
Well, welcome to Scotland, this is the country that I represent. Represent for those who struggle through the days and try their best. Represent for every cunt that's out there trying to find some light. Sick is dark inside the schemes of living state is fucking shite. It's fucking rife and it's no right to keep repeating the same old shit. And Satan's pit while no cunts coming to save us. No one is safe from risk, we just get pissed. End up fucked up lying in a mess. The ball flat tick for the pulse and sip, for the pulse and stuff. Get the frills real quick to escape the shit. Sealed the ship then bail, cause I was sick of myself going up for the deals. I stood on the scales and I was weighing nothing because of the drugs I feel. Ghost my trail or ghost the path where life is at. When life gets mad, when life gets sad, I start going mad and lose my mind and end up glad. Aye, that's correct. Sick of living my whole life on the edge and living so close to death for all the stress. I'm sick of the backward steps, I'm not depressed. I can't get out of my bed instead, I can't dregs. I can't left, I'm trying to make the change and face the hardest steps. See, life's a fairy tale when there's no happy ending. Where's the happy ending? Sick of blending and pretending I'm more stressing many fucking lessons. Still feel I'm not qualified, disqualified for life. I cut the ties, I'm fucking sick of stressing. Stop between the good and bad. Tell me what's the good and what's the bad when I'm surrounded in this world full of rats and half the dafties in the bums. They want to come and test a man, you want to come and test a man and come and fucking test a man. Look, coming a cup could stop in seconds, always put trust in weapons. Picking a phone, start ringing a bros and within a door, deliver a present, pulling the weapons straight for waste. I wasted these cunts, so learn with deafers when I'm a teaching lessons, spinning any one of the benches up. So I'll bring nothing but people, pinning a tank, the gas be flame. I blow up the place and cause of the madness, running amok, them up the place, give rid of the evidence and maybe hit the dam. I'm smoking a plant all day, I stack grades until I'm as high as I plane, I'm hitting the la la land. See my face, see these eyes are red as fuck, I'm high as fuck. The THC might set me free, let me be me. Love the bud, love the punches, then just send this 10 to 1. Just let it bump, forget the worries, stress is none, just hit the blunt. Now I'm feeling kinda settled, stuck on instrumentals. Put the pen on pad and bass, so let's go heavy, heavy fucking mental. Any fucking tempo, any fucking beat, guaranteed. Come and set the level, set the bar. So use constant pressing harder, spit these bars and set the set alight. I like to leave the mark. See the stars, but can't fucking reach the stars. I stare at top, but I'm alright with that. Used to living in the dark, see the finish for the start. But living is hard, I struggle to start. The struggle is real, the world is dark. We live in the pain, I'm falling apart. I jump in the car, I'm driving it far as I can. No planning on bringing it back. I'm never going after the track, I'm stuck on the road. I live in the good and the bad.
Absolutely fucking brilliant. So it's nice to see that even in the younger generations that they're getting a grasp on these things and they're asking these questions. So if anybody's ever in any doubt, then you know it is happening, and it's happening generationally, you know, and it's an inevitability as far as I'm concerned. Because when you put these structures in place, it's always going to bring this about. We're always going to rebel. So, aye, that's it. Keith Anthony's true to his origins, he's true to himself. That's the way we speak, and that's it. You know, as I say, I think the kind of Scottish grime scene's starting to put itself on the map, and it's because of youngsters like that who are not afraid to put themselves out there and have a think and been able to articulate and express the feelings within. It's a beautiful thing as far as I'm concerned. Much better than, you know, me, the way I went about it, isolating myself and going through all my angst and depression. I wish I had the spine to be able to do something like that at that age, but I never, you know, I was in a different place. So good on them, you know, and I hope they all keep it up and fucking keep giving it. What's it called, Emerald Rider? The video production was excellent on that one. So say they're getting better each time. Well, I would say so to Winston, but obviously that's going to, you know, come out as that I'm just biased. But if I look at it objectively, then you know, he is. Anxiety by Toxic featuring. Right, let me look for that. Days ago. Right, this is Emerald Rider's son as well. So see, here we go. The younger generations are giving it.
I think there's nothing left for me. Okay, I think I pushed it all down inside. I'll be going crazy for some drugs tonight. Had to quit the leaning, fighting all these demons. Had to stop the fiending, living life without a meaning. I've been working, I've no sleep, thinking could this be just a dream? Or another substance, I can feel it fantasy. I think there's nothing left for me. I can feel, I need someone to grab the wheel. Lost my mind, one too many times. It's hard to find me, cause I be ghosting through highs and lows. I be roller coasting. She wanna love me, but this shit get ugly. She don't know it. If feds put us over, it was on me. She will hold it for real. At times I wanna pop a pill. Yeah. And I ain't see my dog in a minute now. They shot him in the neck. I'm trying to figure out how the streets are so damn cold. Got no love for these lost souls. I can't help but to think that I'm losing it. I've been here before. No, I'm not new to this. Stressed out, looking for a place to put my head down. Anxiety is killing me. I put another pill in me, write another melody, drowning in this fantasy. I think there's nothing left for me. Stressed out, looking for a place to put my head down. Anxiety is killing me. I put another pill in me, write another melody, drowning in this fantasy. I think there's nothing left for me. Breaking me down, breaking me down.
Excellent. Good on him, mate. Tell him well done. It's always, for me, beneficial. It's good to see that they're thinking about what's happening and they're able to communicate it, whether or not, you know, it's directly or through art. It's sort of their benefit, you know, and hopefully it heals and helps them to progress. So aye, fucking good stuff. No worries, mate. That's catchy, nice melody to it. Well put together. Well, say TMF, I'm not here to be, I'm, you know, I'm not a youngster with ambition and all that to be a fucking relative musician and all that stuff. When it happens, you know. I'm set up now with the tech and stuff, but it's just getting the burn again to get back into it and produce stuff, you know. There's millions of other people out there that are doing the exact same. As I say, you get Steve Thorne, you get Des Sherwood that comes here as well. You know, these people produce and, you know, offer up great relative content to the stuff that we talk about and the stuff that we're looking at. There's loads of it going on. I've no city, no, not a chance, mate. Dill who's asking and saying how many people are experiencing this kind of stuff these days. Think about it all the time, don't feel free at all. Even I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Exactly, mate. As I say, you can see this permeating through the different generations. And there's an inevitability to it, because if you impose a system, you know, a falsity over us and try and constrain people into that system, you know, it's always going to bust out, it's always going to fall apart, and the only thing they can do is run about and try and maintain it and patch it up and, you know, try and hopefully get past it to the next generation and whatever else. But it's like they're chasing their fucking tail with this pish, and that's up to them, you know, that's their bed to lie in. Fuck them. Nice one, since he's working overtime. Did you get Steve Thorne's CD? Good. Good. Right. Michelle Watson, I'll definitely check that out. See, I'm subscribed to him, but I've not seen that. You've not told me. You said 2 hours and 23 minutes, but what was the video? So it's Michelle Watson and AD at Left Nut News, currently blocked from commenting on video streams on YouTube. You need to send me just a quick message to tell me what video that's actually on. 2 hours and 23 minutes. So see, I don't know what video that is. Carolyn Devons. Yes, Dad, do you homeschool your kids? Yes. I know a while back you were talking about it. I have 2 children, an 18-year-old daughter who's at college now and passed all her exams and did great in school because I've always said you won't get a job if you don't. And I have a 7-year-old boy and I've told him the same because that's the society we live in. My daughter is woke to what's going on, and my son, I've told him what he learns in school won't always be the truth. I was meaning the basics like reading, writing and maths. I like to homeschool my son, but I have to work. And I'm enjoying it. Love your streams even when you get angry. But that's it, Carol. I mean, it's odd into your circumstance at the end of the day, innit? And you've obviously got your own ambitions as well that you have to cater for and whatever else. So, you know, my offerings would always be, look, if you're putting them in school, you just have to be aware that that's going to have a huge influence on them, and if you're not taking part in that experience with them, like discussing it with them and asking questions and offering up different possibilities, then they're only ever going to get that one narrative. And again, that's up to each parent whether or not they want that happening to their child. So I mean, the basics, obviously, with Xander, it really was really simple. And as he progresses, we'll get into more complexity of arithmetic and stuff like that, and I'll try and nurture him to wherever his natural desires and ambitions are. But I just gave him the basics of there only is 9 numbers, you know, that we utilise, and then let him go on with it. And he started coming up with all sorts himself, but he's a very kind of practical boy. He likes to construct and build with shapes and forms, and he's a bit obsessive with lining things up and making sure things are the way they are, and I see it even, you know, unguided. You know, I've got monoblocks out there, and he made a bridge one day when, you know, the bridge kind of came up and across, and he had all the supports in the right place, and it was all neat and uniform and blah blah. So these types of things are just natural play, natural progression, but I don't have to really teach. You know, it's like in their natural ability to assess. He knows if he doesn't place that brick there at the correct supporting point, it's going to fall over. He knows how to find the centre of the mass and the balance, and you know, these things happen naturally through play and experience. But when you're trying to offer them systems, man-made systems, that's where the you know, the education part comes in, where you're trying to show him the language of the descriptors of what it is he's up to and what he's involved in, you know. But you know, I just take that as it comes. I just want him to be a child and enjoy his childhood, to be free, to, you know, sleep when he wants, get up when he wants, and you know, all that stuff. Obviously, you know, I'm going to show him that the world's this way, the world expects this, you know, you may have to conform to this if you want to pursue these avenues, whatever else, but it's like always looking, well, he's progressing now, just as yours, he's 7 years old, you know, that age of reason's starting to come, so you can have more complex discussions with him and whatever else. So that's part of the things like the trivium, the liberal arts education. There's a format of when to introduce particular subjects based on their natural development, you know, their growth. When you introduce things like more kind of complex maths and all these different things, there's kind of guidelines for the age groups that you would do that with. But as I say, you've never done it before. It's all learning and always being cautious of what you're offering up. As I say, you know, with Alexander right now, the difficulty with him is language. See, trying to get him to, you know, focus his mind to understanding letters and words and being able to read and write and stuff, he's having a real problem with that. It's like he just doesn't have any interest in it, and I'm trying not to be too forceful with him. You know, I feel like he'll get to a point in his life where he'll get fed up with it. You know, like if he wants to look for something on his iPad or whatever, he's going to get fed up having to ask, and eventually I'm just going to say, well, if you don't learn what the letters are and, you know, words and stuff like that, then you're not going to be able to search for these things. You're going to be limited in your ability to progress and find things for yourself, and that'll, you know, if he's passionate and he's determined that he wants to get something, then that'll be the time for him. But I'm not going to force it on him at a time when it's not really relevant to him, you know. So that's the best I can offer you. I'm not a fucking expert, as I say. It's, you know, never lived it before, so. That's Keith Anthony. It's language is secondary, as I always say, same as any language, math, blah blah blah. These are systems that man have constructed, and in particular when you make it very rigid, you know, it's and associations are built in regards to words and sentences and phrases and whatever else. They become an influence on people. So, you know, always pointing out that it's secondary, and, you know, you speak to somebody as an individual, you define terms and, you know, first principles with each interaction that you have. He will learn it, make that. Exactly, David Marks. You cannot beat experience. But we're in a system of dependency, dependent upon each other and cooperation, so we've got this formulated language in order for us to communicate with each other, and, you know, before you know it, it becomes a necessity where we're dependent on it. So, you know, right now in the situation, the current climate that we're in, it is a necessity. But as I say, I'm not going to keep forcing it. Eventually, you know, he will get fed up with himself and he'll put his attention to it. And that's it, Boris Chops, you see it. And eventually, you know, when they grow and they age, they will advance with it. They'll have a different relationship to it. That's it, David Marks. You know, he's realising now there's a use for it. So say when he wants to search for something and he's asking, I'm saying, well, if you don't fucking learn to, you know, read, then, you know, that's your problem. You're not going to be able to search for things. You know? What if you get somebody, a friend that you want to send a message to? How are you going to do that? So, as I say, I'm subtly manipulating him without pushing it. No idea. I've got you know, that's open to discussions about that, good and evil, and whether they exist in objective reality or objective things. That's a whole quagmire of discussion, that topic, you know. No different for anything else beyond belief. Everything else that's happened, it's always the same. You know? People creating fear porn so that they can channel people's attentions towards themselves like they're the fucking, the saviour or the sole distributor of real true information in regards to whatever topic it is. It's always the fucking same. It's back to that ownership thing again and stature. You know, oh, I know something, I've got power over people. Hey, what were Eddie in his prime, mate, Don? He's only 7. You know, for me as a man, your prime's not going to be until you're about 25 onwards. You know, even at that, I would even say a push to fucking your late 20s. So he's got plenty of time. And you know yourself, at that age, once his attention's taken, he's got a hunger for it, he'll soak it in like a sponge. You know? It's always more beneficial to them when it's off their own back. When they see a use for it, they formulate a passion, and that passion drives their attention, and that attention then absorbs it quicker and better and easier. And that's it, TP in a tree. Well, you duality, you're 28, what are you telling me that for? That's it, Boris Chops. That's exactly it. Nearly 50k, right, okay. Oh, right, sorry, I misread that. That, you know, nearly 50k, I thought it was in reference to the subscribers or something. Michelle, that's my bad comprehension there. What's this, notice anything? I'm not looking at here. Was it the cycling and walking thing? I heard about that earlier. No, I'm probably looking too hard. You'll need to just tell me what it is I'm supposed to see here. Oh, the obvious TMF with that, with the mercury, and you can see the damage that it does, you know. What other damage is unseen, you can see it just in the teeth. I mean, Emma's still, she's got a couple of mercury fillings, and you can see the discoloration that's starting to happen. Alright, so the Brian Harvey thing, right, let me see here. I'm subscribed to Brian Harvey. For anybody that doesn't know, Brian Harvey was a guy that was involved in a 90s pop group called East 17. He was quite open about some of the shenanigans that went on and who's involved and what. But I'll leave it to you to go and investigate some of the corruption politicians and some of the naughty behaviour that's going on. So 2 hours and 23 minutes, so let me see here.
and that is to not cause any man, woman or child harm, loss or injury. That's it. Yeah, harm, loss or injury. That is the real law for men and women and children.
The golden rule.
Do not cause another man, woman or child harm, loss or injury. Everything comes from that. Everything. Every eventuality you can think of, that is set for that. All this other stuff, you broke the law. You didn't have your seatbelt on. What? Yeah, well, it comes under the... that's why I love talking to these people about acts. Because what act does that come under, mate? Oh, yeah, well, it comes under the road traffic driving act section.
Minutes.
And you just think, yeah. So, are you aware, mate, that acts of parliament and statutes are given something which is called the force of law? It means it becomes law when you consent to it. But sometimes you don't know you're consenting to something. So, a copper says to you...
2 hours and 23 minutes, you said the timestamp was.
Okay, yeah. Who wants to know? Well, I'm already locked into a legal contract.
You sure, Michelle? What was the timestamp?
You've got offer, consideration, and acceptance. So he's offered by going to you, Mister. Say you get into a contract. Acts are not locked. Say you get into a contract. Acts are not this earlier, but they know that you know that. So you've got the legal world is for the person, and you've got the lawful world, which is for the human being.
I can see your comment there on the chat now, so...
And the law for the human being is do not cause any other man, woman or child harm, loss or injury. Don't key their car, don't abuse them, don't troll them online, don't smash their face in, don't piss in their letterbox, or, you know what I mean? Everything comes out of it, doesn't it? Harm, loss or injury. No comment is a winner. Yeah, because listen, and here's why. Because they're playing a legal game. They're fucking going with it. They're fucking going. And you can tell which people tell the truth from that, because the people that got sent away, they end up running away all the time. You know what I mean? And hiding behind solicitors. You know what I mean? They run away. Or they go and none of you. I've caught you. And I will be taking. We can do that if you want, Puddick. I like that geezer. The power of now. It's good. He'll stop one and he'll just sit there for a minute and...
You can way off on your timestamp here, Michelle.
Let it come to him. And in the curve, referring to...
Alright, okay. You see it.
Flattening the curve, referring to the levels of C19. Flattening the curve. Are they referring to that they know something? You know, because it don't make no sense to me that, because I can never get up there. I know from down here things do look like we're in the. You always look like you're in the centre of everything, don't you? And it does look like the world is round around you. Maybe it is, I don't know, I've never been up there, I don't claim to know, but I'm not believing Nazi, NASA. All I know is this. Water finds its own level. Always has done. Always will do. That's all I know.
Good on him.
Water will always find its own level. But magically, because of a theory called gravity, and all this other stuff that don't make no sense, in space, where it's special, you can have something that is all shaped. And because of this special thing, this magicness, your water sticks to it. Does that really make any sense?
Of course not.
I I've flown to Australia before. At no point in the fucking aeroplane did we go like that. Yeah, fill it to the brim, the water is curved around the edges. Nothing saying that it can't be round, you know, like we're standing on a big fucking dinner mat or something, you know what I mean? No one's saying that. Water rotates differently depending on the size of the crater, flat earth, another distraction, yeah, just does that. Listen, water don't stick to a ball.
Really good on him. Fucking simple as that. You know? Simple as fucking that. Right. Cheers, everybody. I'm going to get off. Oh, wait a minute. Alright, I see now Andrew Dixon. It's supposed to be a live chat in a cloak. I thought there might have been relevance to the cloak in the background. Aye, so cheers everybody. I'll see you all soon. Take care.